Hey guys, welcome to this very special episode of TFL Today. It's our second live show of the day, boys.
Woo! We are busy.
We are busy. We've got a lot of good videos up, but we interrupt today's TFL YouTube programming because we have breaking news.
Yes.
We've got news of a very interesting Jeep variety. We just found out many of the details of the new Jeep Grand Cherokee. The Grand Wagoneer. The Grand Wagoneer. Yeah. The big boy.
Yes. And this news comes to us courtesy of Automotive News. So they first broke the story, and then we followed up on the story. And this is about the 2019, or it could be actually 2020, Jeep Wagoneer and Grand Wagoneer. There's going to be two versions of it. And the big news is that it's based on the Ram 1500 half-ton pickup truck.
All right, so what basically you mean is it will compete directly with something like a Tahoe
Yes.
and a Suburban?
Yes, and also the Ford Expedition. And the big news is, so Wagoneer and Grand Wagoneer, we're assuming is going to have two different wheelbases. So like a Tahoe versus a Suburban.
Okay.
And it's going to go right up against those vehicles. And it's going to have really good towing numbers because it's frame-based. Based on the frame.
Yeah.
So that's interesting because originally Sergio, the CEO of SCA, had said that the Grand Wagoneer was going to compete directly with the Range Rover.
And be very luxurious and maybe a crossover-based unibody.
But now we're finding out that it in fact is going to be a truck and it's going to compete with the likes of GM's Tahoe, Suburban, maybe even the Escalade.
Well, yeah, they can always pile on the goodies, right, and luxury features, and it could compete against, the $100,000 mark of the Lincoln Navigator and also the Escalade.
Now, of course, keep in mind that this is being built on, we think, the new 1500 chassis, not the current one.
Yeah, well, that news is not very clear, but
It would make sense.
why build on two different chassis?
Yeah.
And what factory is it being built at?
The Warren Assembly Plant in Michigan.
So
it will be, not right now, but
American built.
American.
Which is interesting because everybody's been moving their production down to Mexico. So now we have a big ass American Jeep that's going to be built in Michigan again.
And they have to retool obviously that plant. And the news is that the Grand Wagoneer and Wagoneer will be on sale mid-2019. So we're talking about 2 years from now, or maybe a little bit less.
Now, one of the questions, and I know you guys have it too, you think they'll put the Hellcat engine in it? I just wanted to go right there instead of going through the diesels. You would know it's going to be all that other stuff. Hellcat engine in there.
Oh, for sure.
I'm saying
yes, he says yes already.
If you're, and this is our take. This is our take. If you're competing against the Cadillac or the Lincoln, go for the Hellcat.
Hellcat engine. There you go.
All right,
you're welcome.
All right, guys, we get a lot of questions, and I mean a lot of questions that are really excellent questions sent in from you every day of the week. And so on Fridays, we're doing a segment called Ask TFL, and these are basically answers to your questions. Now, not just any questions. We've picked the questions that we thought were the most interesting and that you guys would be the most interested. Now, keep in mind, these are all truck questions.
Yep.
So we're not doing car questions, we're doing truck questions. And the first one, let's cut right to it, comes from Lieutenant Chris. And he writes, my family and I are stationed in Key West, and one of our cars was destroyed by Hurricane Irma. Sorry, Chris, I know that's got to be...
But he's okay, I hope, and the family is okay.
Right. One thing the storm taught me is that gas runs out in a crisis, but diesel is always available. I didn't know that.
That's very interesting because a lot more gasoline vehicles, right?
Yeah, that's true. But diesel is used on large trucks and construction equipment and whatnot, so maybe that makes sense.
So Chris is going to go look at 3 different trucks in the next few days to replace the one that was destroyed. And the 3 that he's looking at are the Ram 1500 EcoDiesel, the Ram 2500 Cummins.
Okay.
So he's talking a heavy duty versus
light duty.
Light duty, and the Silverado 2500 Duramax.
Okay.
He adds that I'm looking at the base models of these 3 with the following specs: a 4x4 crew long bed. He's leaning toward the EcoDiesel due to the huge MPG advantage, but this is important. I don't tow huge loads, but I do have a boat that would max out at about 6,000 pounds. And he wants to know, while the EcoDiesel meets all my requirements and comes in much cheaper, I'm concerned about the transmission and the longevity of the truck. I know if I treat a Duramax or Cummins well, it will get me to over 500,000 miles easily. I'm not sure about that. So the question is, out of those 3 trucks, which one should he buy?
Well, first of all, 6,000 pounds, you could tow that with any of those options.
Of course.
Yeah.
Easily. The EcoDiesel even will do it, especially in the base configuration. And we don't do reliability testing at TFL because we usually don't get trucks for that long of a period. But I have a Duramax 2000 to 2500, and you're considering one as well. And I can say I've been very happy with my truck, with one big exception.
One big exception.
I had to replace my fuel injectors at around 150,000 miles.
And how much did that cost?
It was over $3,000.
That's a problem.
So, and that was the first generation Duramax.
Yes.
Right. So those issues have been worked out through the years, but we just don't know enough about longevity of the Cummins or the longevity of the EcoDiesel.
Can I say one thing real quick? I love the EcoDiesel, first of all, but one of my issues has always been when you're towing something near its limit versus taking a larger truck and towing it where it's no problem. I would imagine that the EcoDiesel might struggle a little bit down the line. This is just out of logic. I have no numbers on this. So it's something to think about. Do you want to throw something in the back where it's a piece of cake to tow, or throw something in the back where it's not as easy to tow? That's something you should answer yourself.
So we posted this question to TFLtruck.com.
Yeah.
And I read all of the responses, and there were a lot of them. And interestingly, we don't do reliability testing, even though we have requested the EcoDiesel for a long-term review so that we can do some reliability testing. But about half the comments were, I've had zero issues with my EcoDiesel, and the other half were, it's been very unreliable, and I've had it in the shop the whole time.
So one way or the other.
It's mixed
And
data.
it has the 8-speed, right?
Yes.
With the hockey puck shifter.
Right.
All right, so let's give him some advice. You've got 3 trucks to choose from, Nathan. Which one would you pick?
Oh, I would
For
choose
Chris.
the Cummins.
All right,
Without a doubt.
the 2500 Cummins. How about you, Andre?
A newer Duramax.
New Duramax. And I'm going to make this really interesting. I'd go for the EcoDiesel. So, Chris, you've got
We
3.
haven't answered anything.
We
No, but Nathan's point is very good. If you're pushing a truck near its limits, its longevity will go down. Obviously, you're using the truck near its limit. A heavy-duty truck, 6,000 pounds, it's a piece of cake. It's a walk in the park for that truck.
Right. And I've seen, this is just personal experience. I've seen a lot of people do very well with Cummins products. So just throwing that out there. This is the best we can do on that.
Let's move on.
Let's move on to Hans. Hans is a 70-year-old dude who is considering buying a Ridgeline
Okay.
or perhaps a Ram 4-wheel drive Highlander Plus. So anyway, he's got a Highlander Plus, and he's in. Let me read the question. I have a straightforward question. In your opinion, will we be able to drive the same dirt roads of moderate grade and not too rocky out west with the latest Honda Ridgeline having a camper in the bed, say 1,500 pounds wet,
Hans.
that I now drive with my 2013 4-wheel drive Highlander Plus? So he's got a 2013 Highlander Plus. He wants to get a Ridgeline, stick a camper on the back, and he wants to know if he can drive the same dirt roads. After spending nearly 2 weeks looking at YouTube videos, reading Consumer Reports, all kinds of reviews on the internet, I am even more confused. So let's start with that question. Oh, and he also says, I do not like the Tacoma or the Colorado Canyon, noise and reliability, seating, etc. So he wants to know, can he put a camper on a Ridgeline and go in the same places as he can with his Highlander?
May I?
Yeah, go
No.
ahead, please.
Oh, that was easy.
1,500 pounds is at your limit. That means anything
For payload.
For payload. And once you start driving it and put human beings in it and other things, you're going way over your payload. We never recommend going that far over payload. In fact, we always recommend going under payload. Your best bet, in my opinion, go for a half-ton truck. Just don't even mess around with anything else. Half-ton trucks nowadays are much more efficient and relatively affordable when you compare them to mid-sized trucks.
And more comfortable. If you get an F-150 or a Silverado or a Ram 1500, you get more room in the cab. You have better payload, but watch your payload carefully. 1,500-pound camper. I have one with similar weight that I use my Duramax with. So I have a 3/4 ton.
Right.
But I also tow a trailer behind it. So watch your payload carefully, and I think I agree with you completely. Half-ton truck for this type of use.
There's nothing wrong with the Ridgeline. It's a perfectly good utility type truck, but in terms of putting something that heavy in its bed, I don't recommend it.
Yeah, great answer. So there you go. You got to get yourself a half-ton. You're just not enough truck for 1,500 pounds of camper, unless you have a 22-pound dog who can steer the
little
truck.
Yeah, while you run behind it.
Then you're okay. All right, Aaron wants to know. He's hearing about the possibility that Toyota is going to bring a Tundra to the market. A Tundra, a diesel Tundra.
Oh, diesel Tundra.
Gentlemen, do you think that Toyota will make a diesel Tundra? There's a lot of speculation out
Can
there.
I?
Yeah, go ahead.
No.
Niet.
And yet, that's a yet.
Okay,
They do make diesel trucks outside of the U.S. market.
Absolutely,
Yes.
they do. We've spoken with Toyota many times about this, and the general answer was no. If you talk about the Tacoma diesel, they say towing is not big on our priority list because it's not big on our customers' priority lists. So diesel would not make sense. And the Tundra, it would include a lot more kind of testing and certification and additional cost of the emission systems and then certification for emissions. And I don't see them doing a diesel anytime soon.
Now, there's one thing to think about. Look at what Nissan's done with their Titan and their diesel and all the money they've put forward in order to build this vehicle. Very expensive, very difficult to federalize. So if Toyota is going to do it, they would only do it if they saw a real return on their investment.
So I think we're in agreement. There's no diesel Tundra coming.
Not anytime soon.
All right, let's keep going. This one's actually kind of for you, Andre.
Yes.
Arthur wants to know. He says he's 6'1", 225 pounds, which is very similar to you.
Yes,
You're a little
I'm,
bit taller.
I'm,
You're
I'm
6'3".
6'2".
Okay. I got especially curious watching us review the Toyota Tacoma. I've heard it is not a good truck for tall drivers. Do you fit into a Tacoma? That's the question.
Yeah, the answer is yes, but I don't like the sitting position in Tacoma because you're sitting too low and your legs are kind of stretched out in front. And if you like that sitting position, it's fine. You can actually move the seat back, but I don't like it. I like the Colorado much better.
Now, I used to own a Tacoma. I loved it. However, there were a few times when I'd get in it and I actually hit this corner of my head and my eye would swell up because I got in really fast. The problem with the way the Tacoma is built is the way the actual cabin is built. It has a very low roof and a high floor, and it's not conducive to being a very comfortable vehicle. I'm 6'1" and change, and I've whacked my head several times. Now, I thought the newer ones would be different.
No.
Same thing, basically.
Very high floor height, very
Yeah.
low seat height, very low ceiling
Roof.
height. Yeah, and so you're kind of sitting, like Andre said, with your feet straight out. Okay,
Colorado much better.
all right. Somebody wants to know, anonymous, where are the TFL meetups?
It's very hard for us to do meetups. I think that question also came from the fact that we go to auto shows.
Yes.
And a lot of you guys have asked, can you guys do meetups? And the answer is we're so busy.
We're
there
never
before-
together. We're never together, really.
Right, we're never together. We're there before the public days because this is the media days of the show. And it's very hard for us to do that, especially when everything else is going on. But we do have other projects. Like we potentially have a project where we drive across the country, where we could potentially meet people.
Yep, that's right. And also we have a brand new show that I think is conducive to people who want to hang out with us and meet us, as long as you're willing to bring a car to us.
Yeah, it's called Dude, I Love My Ride. If you want to be on that show, send us an email to info@TFLcar or ask a TFLtruck, include a picture, and we'll have you here and you can meet us. Go ahead, Tom, you have a question.
Multi-purpose reviewer says the best place for a meetup would honestly be the Easter Jeep Safari.
Yeah, you know what?
Yeah.
We were thinking about that, and maybe this upcoming Easter Jeep, we might be able to work something out. But we need to talk to a few people. Remember, while we're there, we're not hanging out. We're running around with cameras trying to cover everything we can cover.
We are actually in the process of trying to do a kind of a unique TFL road trip adventure where we would have Jeep meetups throughout the country. So it really depends on if we can get our hands on the new Wrangler and if we can get Jeep to sponsor the video series. If so, we will be traveling across the country and we will definitely have meetups. So stay tuned for that. All right, let's keep going, guys. Edward wants to know about the new 2018 Ford F-250. Any specs that you can tell?
No, not yet. But next week is the State Fair of Texas,
Yep.
which you and I are going to be at least. And I think Mr. Truck is going as well.
I can't wait to see you guys in cowboy hats.
And my boots.
And
Did
your
you see
boots.
my boots?
I saw your boots.
And I'm anticipating that more information will come out next week. But at this point, the new Super Duty specs for 2018 are not available yet.
But this isn't on our list, but there also might be news of a Chevy variety at the...
Actually,
Yeah.
yes, potentially Chevy. They're celebrating 100 years of trucks. So you may have heard Ford celebrating 100 years of pickup trucks. Well, it's Chevy's turn. It was about the same year.
Roughly.
So that's going to be exciting. And every manufacturer does something at the State Fair of Texas for trucks. So it's very exciting.
Yeah, it is a truck-centric event.
This is a question from Hal, and it's basically an old versus new. And we've been doing a lot of old versus new stuff. I really like that concept to find out, how the new stuff compares to the old stuff. And he's actually interested in buying an old or a new truck. So he's torn between a 2017 Chevy 1500 with a 6.2, or he's looking at a 2015 or 2016 6.6 Chevy 2500 Crew with about 30,000 miles. So he's basically comparing a new half-ton to an older, not much older, three-quarter ton. And he says, I commute about 60 miles per day. I do tow across the country about 10 times a year, pulling 7,000 to 9,000 pounds each time. There are a few times I go over mountains, so I'd like to know if the 6.2 liter would keep up. However, 93 octane here in Texas is way more expensive than diesel because of all the disasters. I like the 6.2 better because of the fuel economy for my commute. What's your opinion between the two trucks? Which do you think would be better over an 8 to 9 year period? That's all he wants to keep up. Man, that's a lot of questions there.
It's a lot, but let's break it down. You're towing basically every 5 weeks 7,000 to 9,000 pounds. So right there, in my book, you want to go with the heaviest of the vehicles to tow, heaviest duty, I should say. I love that 6.2 in the GM products. It's fantastic. But bottom line is, if you want, to really have an easier time towing, go for the more powerful, heavier duty platform.
I don't completely agree with you on this, but we've done a lot of iGauntlet tests. We've got a lot of MPG tests.
Right.
You and I have spent many an hour towing on the highway for fuel economy. And for commuting, I would be leaning towards the half-ton with a 6.2. That engine is powerful. It sounds good. Really good fuel economy. We've proven that.
Yeah.
It can tow 9,000 pounds. We've proven that as well.
Yeah.
Even though I own a diesel now, I think my next step would be to a big gas-powered, maybe half-ton truck.
Okay.
I'm actually with Nathan. I think that the half-ton 6.2 is plenty truck. I mean, the new trucks are so much more capable than the old trucks. And so I'd go with the new 6.2.
Well,
So that means
You're not with
actually,
Nathan.
you're not with
the
me.
old one.
Oh, he's with the old. I'm the only one by myself here.
No.
I'm with
you
Andre.
and Andre agree.
So you want
6.2.
Yeah, okay.
He
I
wants
want
the
the
older
old truck.
diesel.
Yeah,
Want
the
the
older,
older diesel.
beefier engine, easier towing. That's my point. So either way, look, bottom line is that both products are good products. And it's also a thing about new and old, right? So are you buying a used truck? Used trucks?
How was it used?
This is kind of new versus brand new.
Yeah, newish versus new.
All right, David wants to know, boys, why don't we test two-wheel drive trucks up the iGauntlet?
Oh, we do.
We do.
There you go, David.
We do. Well, the thing is that we don't get very many of them, but when we do get them, we bring them up there. Now, we've done it with Ford and General Motors, and I think we've done it with Ram.
Yeah, we just compared the Ram 2500 Hemi two-wheel drive tradesman and the F-250 work truck. The Chevy was not two-wheel drive. They sent us a 4x4.
That's right, the white one. Yeah.
But the reason why we get 4x4s generally is because we're in Colorado. We like to go off-roading. And in the winter, 4x4 is really useful.
So
So I've been answering a lot of emails, and there's a misconception out there that people think that, like we just get whatever we want. Yeah, we snap our fingers and it shows up. So, Andre, why don't you tell them what actually showed up after a lot of begging and pleading when you asked for 3 competing work trucks? What actually ended up showing up at the office?
One truck.
Yeah, no, what were the other 2?
Well,
The work truck.
4x4.
Right. You
I
want
did not ask for a 4x4.
4x4.
A 4x4 showed up. The other truck was late.
Yeah.
So, I mean...
Wait, no.
there's
We
more
asked for
to it.
work truck, and what was the 4 that showed
Oh,
up? Yeah.
Yes, initially I asked for a work truck. 3 work trucks,
Yes.
right? A King Range shows up.
well,
Initially.
$60,000 truck or more?
Yes.
We asked for a
65.
2-wheel drive work truck, and we got a 4-wheel drive King Ranch.
Granted, I'll take full responsibility for it. I'm mostly in charge about getting the logistics done.
The only one
That's
that gave
not-
it. No, that was
not your fault.
No. Then Ram was the only
asked.
one that sent us the work truck.
Yes.
Because Chevy then sent us a 4x4. We asked for a 2-wheel drive.
With 20-inch rims.
Yeah.
Yes. Boom. So we don't usually get what we ask for.
Yeah, but I mean, we are getting to the point where we can request things and maybe we'll get them, but that maybe is a big maybe.
We're doing Gold Hitch Awards starting in a couple of weeks. We're getting, this Chevy ZR2. It's going to be really exciting.
Yeah.
We're getting a lot of trucks that we want.
Yeah.
And we're going to count on you guys because, like, for instance, some of the manufacturers last year didn't give us trucks. So this year we're going to say, if you don't give us a truck, we're going to ask you guys to let us your truck, and we'll test your truck because we want to make this a comprehensive Ike Gauntlet this year,
Yeah.
and we don't want any players not included.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, let's keep going, boys. All right, this is from Cody. He's got a quick question. I have a 2014 Ford Super Duty, very similar to Kent's, the 6.2 gas
Nice.
engine. I'm wondering what would be some ways to boost the power and torque up a little bit. So he wants to boost his power and torque. Are cold air intakes, exhausts, or programmers worth the money? Now, three things there. He wants to know if a cold air intake gives you more power, if an exhaust gives you more power, and if a programmer gives you more power. And we've actually done all three of those things to your truck. Now, keep in mind, his is a diesel truck. He's got a gasoline 6.2. So these are not apples to apples, but what happened when we stuck that stuff on your truck?
I was going to just forget the question and tell him, supercharge it.
That'll definitely give you more power.
You know, they have Raptors, supercharged Raptors with 6.2s.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Okay, getting back to the question. I think you'd have to do either all three or maybe not even worry about it. Because, yes, the exhaust system, a performance exhaust system will make the truck sound better. But performance-wise, it may not add noticeable amount of performance.
Usually you can get a few horsepower.
Yeah,
you
but
know.
will you notice it in the back,
You're
by
looking,
the seat
it's
of
probably
your pants?
talking, if you're lucky, 10, maybe 20 horsepower more, but it's not going to.
And then we're spitballing that. But here's something that is considered to be somewhat factual. If you do make the vehicle breathe better, which is basically what we're talking about, inhale and exhale, then you should get better throttle response. And that is about it. That's the only thing that can be guaranteed in that whole thing. Everything else in terms of horsepower gains and torque gains are subjective.
And also better fuel economy. We just had a guy come out with his Power Wagon,
Yeah.
right, with the Hemi in it. He did a exhaust system on the truck, and he was swearing really much improved fuel economy.
Yeah.
You know, if you can get better, scavenging of gases, maybe the engine is a little bit more happy.
I think that
Sounds better.
cold air intakes are just a scam. I don't think that they do anything. And I think actually a cold air intake can hurt the truck because the manufacturer programs the engine based on how much the stock air intake is capable of bringing air into it, right? So there's a little oxygen sensor that's there in front of the combustion chamber. And when you start messing with kind of how much and the quantity and the type of air that you're putting into the truck, it starts messing with the programming in the computer. So I think it can actually be detrimental to your, it makes you feel good, right? It's one of those things that's like, hey, if I get cold air versus hot air, but then the manufacturer isn't trying to put hot air into the truck anyway, right? They're trying to cool as much as possible. So
I think mostly it has to do with the filter itself.
the filter,
You
can
can actually
free-flowing
replace.
filter,
You can actually replace it not with a paper-based filter, but with a different filter technologies, and you can oil those filters and clean them. But it's a whole big thing.
I think cleaning out your filter is going to do a lot more than a cold air intake or replacing it.
And a lot of people are asking, I see your, is it well sealed against the hood? Are you actually getting cold air? Or are you getting hot air? A lot of questions about it. But I think if you want to get more performance, just do all three. Get an actual tuner that, works properly with the new intake and the new exhaust system, and you could really improve it.
And of course, a tuner is going to do a lot more if you have a forced induction, right? Like yours, a turbocharger.
It really woke it up.
Yeah,
Just
because
huge.
with the supercharger, you could increase the amount of air pressure inside the combustion chamber.
And you increase the fuel with
right,
a tuner.
With a tuner, yeah.
Yes.
I'm not sure you can do that with the 6.2 that has no forced induction.
Hey guys, by the way, when this video is over and it becomes a regular video, if you guys have personal experience with this, please add it below. Let them know.
Are there any questions, Tommy?
We've got a lot of people wondering what's happened with the TRX.
Yeah, actually, I asked Nick about that, our PR guy.
At Ram?
At Ram, yeah. And he was very coy about it. So to
Well,
me...
they're not going to talk about future products.
Right, exactly. The problem
But I think
is
if we could pull something out of
yeah,
it.
so he didn't tell me anything specifically about the truck, but I'm going to take a wild stab in the dark here. This is my speculating. I don't think that truck is going to come out until the new 1500 comes out, which is next year.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, the first year, as always, they're going to concentrate on the new truck. And so you're going to have a full year of, you don't want to have like the spotlight shift from the fact that you've got the main truck to this like Raptor competitor. So I'm thinking that is at least 3 years down the road.
Yeah,
I would agree.
Yeah, and the bottom line is
That's
just-
me. That's
yeah,
not the.
that this rumor and speculation can only go so far. But the bottom line is this: they know that people are interested in it, and they're about to phase out their old platforms. So we got to wait for the new platform. We got to introduce the base models, the mid-level models, the good model, blah 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 blah. Boom. Then you'll get hopefully your sport truck.
This week's Hellcat, because that really is a Hellcat engine. They won't call it that, but it's a Hellcat engine. News was that FCA decided to pull the plug on putting that Hellcat engine in the 300. So I don't know if that has anything to do with whether they'll put it in the truck or not, but
Well, the 300 is a different story. I mean, it's a Chrysler.
but they're not doing it in the 300.
Yeah.
Anything else, Tommy?
How do I increase the towing capacity on a 2005 Chevy 1500 Z71 with a 5.3 liter Vortec?
How do you increase towing capacity?
You go.
Buy a new truck.
Okay, you
Seriously.
could buy a new truck, or you can put an oil cooler in your transmission, because transmission overheating problems is a big problem when towing. You can improve your suspension. Maybe get either airlift helper or an additional leaf helping spring. So you can actually try to modify your truck, or you can just get a new truck.
But the problem with that, Andre, is the manufacturer specifies the payload. It specifies how much that truck can tow, and that's based usually on SAE standards, right? Where they, for instance, on a very steep road, will park the truck and then they make it hold that much weight.
Yes.
And then
Braking, acceleration, yes, a lot of things.
Yeah, and that stuff is not going to change by doing a cold air intake. You're not going to upgrade your brakes, right? So unless you can upgrade everything that goes into towing, which is not just engine, not just
transmission,
payload, not just transmission, brakes, you're not going to be able to do it. You can make your truck a lot more unsafe to tow more.
Yes.
But I would, if I was, with any upgrades that you could do, I would not consider that an upgrade to the towing capability of the truck. I would consider an upgrade to the engine, maybe fuel economy, but not towing capability. I think that towing capability is pretty baked into a truck.
Usually is. But when you get a towing package with any truck, it always comes with several things. Maybe improved braking, improved transmission, improved suspension.
Yes, Tommy.
So the comment section's blowing up. Everyone wants to know the Wagoneer news again. Can we say the Wagoneer
Yeah,
news?
yeah.
Yeah.
Let's repeat it. Let's do it.
Let's do the Wagoneer again. This week we found out that the Wagoneer is going to be built on the new, we think, Ram 1500. So
Platform.
basically it's going to be a truck chassis. Sergio had originally said that it was going to compete with the Land Rover, which would make it a much more premium vehicle, potentially a SUV crossover vehicle. Now we know it's going to be a truck-based, two-wheelbase.
Yeah. So if you look at the Ram 1500, and they're talking about the Wagoneer, so a shorter wheelbase, similar to a Tahoe,
Right.
and then a longer wheelbase Grand Wagoneer, similar to a Suburban. So they're going to be competing directly against the market-leading GM trucks, but also against Ford, Nissan, and Toyota in this space.
Who all have frame-based beefy SUVs. So we're talking an SUV, and I've already made my prediction. Give it a few years, and they will put a Hellcat engine in there.
Hellcat, everything.
And the other thing I think that's interesting is they're betting on fuel prices staying low.
Well, yeah, that's part of it.
Yeah,
I mean, you're
'cause
not going to.
if you're building a truck-based, big, heavy Wagoneer, Grand Wagoneer, you're betting on the fact that fuel prices are going to be low.
But there's something else. It would fit right in there. That 3-liter EcoDiesel that has proven to be fairly decent in the
Yes.
half-ton
And
trucks.
it might be in there.
And all of a sudden, I think you would lower your overall MPG standard, right?
Yes, and this is interesting because the news is that this Wagoneer, Grand Wagoneer, will be available in mid-2019, so about 2 years from now, give and take. And Ford has announced a hybrid Expedition, hybrid Lincoln Navigator coming out in 2020. So fuel economy is very important to a lot of these manufacturers, and I think FCA also has a hybrid technology. They have the minivan Pacifica
Yeah, that's true.
that they've experimented with hybrid technologies.
And they have the EcoDiesel.
And they have an EcoDiesel. So this is going to be really exciting news because I'm looking
Hey,
forward
Nathan,
to
I
that.
bet you can't wait to take that off-road, huh?
Oh, hell yeah. I mean, just, it will still have plastic on the seats, and I will take that sucker everywhere I am allowed to go.
And they haven't had a full-size SUV. I mean, the Durango is there, right?
Yeah.
The Dodge Durango, but it's based on the Grand Cherokee unibody chassis. But they haven't had like a proper 4x4 truck
In years.
frame based in many, many years.
So
Yeah.
let's do one more question. We get a lot of emails about what's happening with the Dakota.
Okay?
Yeah.
No
Oh.
news.
No, we
don't
don't
have
think
any
we don't
news.
think they're going to build it because that would directly compete against the Jeep.
Pickup truck.
Yeah, the Jeep Scrambler is a mid-sized truck technically, so why would they introduce something that would directly compete against it when, they're trying to sell the thing? I have a feeling that Jeep Scrambler is going to be massive in terms of popularity.
So, guys, thank you for taking the time to watch this very special edition of Ask TFL Truck. If you are interested in more great TFL videos on TFL Car Today, Nathan and I actually counted down the top 10 cars that we've driven. That's a brand new video that's over at TFL Car. And if you want a really fun video on this channel, TFL Now, this morning we published a video where Andre got to race a professional race car driver in an electric Chevy Bolt. And do you think you won, Andre?
You have to watch that.
You have to watch it, yeah. See if Andre beat
A Corvette racing driver?
Yeah. Spoiler, you won't be surprised by the results.
I didn't damage anything.
Guys, thanks for watching. And if you want your car or truck featured on Dude I Love or Hate My Ride, shoot us an email to asktfltruck at TFLtruck.com and send us a picture, and we'd love to feature you. As always, this is
Nathan.
Andre.
and Roman saying thanks for watching. Remember, check out TFL Truck and TFL Car and subscribe so that we can give you more great videos. See you guys next time. Ciao.